trying to cope with this excuse of, oh, it's just the first episode, when if you go back and listen to his coverage, he was way too conclusive about things than he should have been, rather than just go, okay, do you know what, I did actually have some stuff explained, I've still got issues. He's just doing this cope response of, oh, I was just reviewing the first episode, what's your problem? Wait, whoa, hang on a sec. In the last thing, didn't he say that she's a Mary Sue? But now he's complaining about the fact she doesn't adapt to the world upstairs.
But I guess it's okay because the guy was a racist and he looks white. I do want to point out, he's not actually technically white, but I don't want to go into that. But of course the question...
Oh my god, is he talking about being a Jew? Right guys, we're doing it. If you don't want to have a Fallout show spoiled, leave now, okay? We're going to watch Synthetic Man's further review. Now, to catch you up on the last time we watched this guy's video, it was pretty rough. He seemed to have like an obsession with race, which was ridiculous because there isn't really that much race-based stuff in the show, unless you just count interracial relationships as having some sort of woke agenda in and of themselves. Oh, I spelt it wrong. Synthetic Man, full Fallout review. And the other thing that I just found a bit gay about his video is he hadn't watched the full show, which is fine. You know, you can review one episode of the show, but he didn't really give any grounds for the show to like develop plot points. And he kind of like concluded on a bunch of stuff that gets explained later on as the show goes on. And it's like, why would you go so hard at something that is a plot point that's clearly there to be developed further? You know, that's the whole point of a TV show, is you have plot lines that develop. And he acted like the woman was like a Mary Sue, which was ridiculous because she wasn't a Mary Sue. She was like obviously from the vault and she got a fucking ass kicked and stuff like that. I don't know, man. It was just pretty bad. And it was like clearly... My take on the Fallout show is this, okay? You may or may not like it, right? Everyone's going to have their opinion on a piece of media, okay? And the best thing that you can do is to go into it with an open mind, and if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. Boom. There you go. Simple. But what I feel like with the Fallout show is some people are getting like hyper fixated on details and are going in thinking it's going to be bad. And they're coming to that conclusion that it's bad because they think it's going to be bad. And that seemed to be what happened with Synthetic Man, because he attributed all these woke things to the show that just weren't really there, you know? But I never, you know, you don't have to like anything, you know. You may just not like it, and that's fine, obviously, because, you know, some people don't like movies that are considered brilliant by most people because they just don't like it for whatever reason, you know? Yeah, Malkaz, you're right. I mean, I think it's fair to be skeptical and to go in with like kind of a, they fucked up this, they fucked up that, and stuff like that. But yeah, some of the comments on the last video were kind of crazy as well. Like, people were getting super mad at me. And it's like, I didn't have that crazy a take. I wasn't shitting the show. I wasn't saying you have to like it or it's really actually good and you're wrong if you disagree. I was just saying, like, if you've happened to have Amazon Prime, you might as well give it a watch because you're paying for the service anyway, right? That's my kind of thought process on it. But like, yeah, I was saying, if you watch it, just do it with an open mind, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Most people have got an Amazon Prime subscription anyway, so you might as well take advantage of it and see if you like it. And I enjoyed it, you know? And one thing that was really irritating that I saw is it's like, it wasn't okay that I just watched it and enjoyed it. And, you know, I had to dislike it and I wasn't watching it right. And there were even people in the comments that were going like, no, Chud, you don't understand. You've got to watch this Scrimblow Bimblow cover it and they'll explain to you why it's bad. And I'll probably watch like a Mauler video about it and be like, okay, I can see where he's coming from. That plot point was retarded, da-da-da-da-da. Maybe I disagree here. But it's like, you don't have to like or dislike something. You can just enjoy it and leave it at that. You don't have to go into all this autistic detail into why you shouldn't like it if you don't want to, you know? But some people are insistent that you must not like it, you know? And it's kind of, you're doing the thing where it's like the opposite of the other end of it, where you're saying, no, you must dislike it. Well, no, you can like something. And you can even go on later to recognize that there are issues with the show and you didn't really like it, you know? It's like when I watched it, looking back, I was like, when the Black Knight guy Maximus was on screen, I didn't really enjoy it as much, right? I wasn't feeling it as much. And then on reflection, it's like, it's because the character kind of sucks. And I can recognize that and think about that, you know? But generally speaking, I enjoyed watching it. Yeah? That's the way I look at it anyway. So anyway, please don't spoil. I can't not spoil it. That's the point of this whole segment. Anyway, that being said, I did say that I'd watch Synthetic Man's full video at some point. Give it its due. And see what he had to say about it, okay? So I'm interested to see how he responded to some of the kind of criticisms that he got before. So let's have a little look and find out.
As promised, I'm back to review the rest of Season 1 of the critically acclaimed Fallout TV show. I'm sure the question on some people's minds is, well, does it get better? Believe it or not, kind of, a little bit.
Oh.
In the sense that you can turn your brain off, and if you don't care about the Fallout franchise, which is the case for most of the people who like this show, then you could just consume this mediocre slop and not really think much of it. This is about as superficial as an adaptation can possibly be. It has a bunch of visual references, and that's really all it takes to get normies on board with your show. You can absolutely take a massive dump on the lore, especially.
That's all it takes to get normies on board. Why would a normie give two fucks about a Pip-Boy or the reference to the password from the games or a bobblehead? Normies are not going to care about that stuff. That's the fan service shit. That's the shit that fans look at and go, oh my god, it's the thing from the game, you know? But those are that's kind of like window dressings, right? At the end of the day. And I don't know, like, it's fine. If this guy, yes, they do. You are the normie to this guy. But how am I a normie when it comes to Fallout? Like, yeah, I've not played the original games or something like that, right? I get that I'm not that detailed in it. I've watched lots of videos about the lore and the Fallout stuff, and the other day I literally watched a fucking 4-hour video about Fallout 1, for fuck's sake, you know? Like, I know quite a bit about the lore outside of the games I've even played because I've watched videos about it, you know? What is it? The Mariposa military facility with the FEV and shit. You know, I've watched a bunch of stuff about it. And in fact, I'll tell you another thing that I'll say about it too, right? Is having looked at it and thought about it more, particularly playing Fallout New Vegas recently, I do think that they've scuffed the timeline and the lore of like New Vegas and this game and Shady Sands, you know? Xbox gamer and lore slop consumer. This guy's up at 3 a.m. setting up an old OS to play the unpatched originals. Okay, but is he though? Is he really? I would have thought that he was like, just concerned with the blacks, personally. But okay, maybe he's that into it. I don't know. But in any case, I'm also willing to say that, yeah, I can understand why if you're a real lore hound, you'd be super bothered by it because it does feel like they're kind of putting the thumb on the scale when it comes to the lore, you know? So yeah, anyway, like I say, if this guy just didn't like it, that's fine. But it seems like he's gone out with intent to dislike the show, and that's led to a lot of his perspectives on it. But we will see.
Especially of the original games in New Vegas. That's fine because most Fallout fans, if you can even call them fans, have only played Fallout 4, and so they don't care about the universe. They don't care about the characters. They don't even care about the theme. They don't even know what the theme is. People think it's about capitalism. The games literally tell you in the intro cutscene and the epilogue, war never changes. And yet somehow now it's about.
But wait a second. Dude, it's so ridiculous, man. Wait a second. That's what. Does he think that there can only be one theme of something? There's often media has got multiple fucking themes, okay? War Never Changes is one theme because it's based around the fucking Great War that happened, right? But just remind me for 1 second. What is the reason that war started? That happens that leads to the nukes. What's the reason that they're fighting? Does anyone know the reason they're fighting? Why did the war happen in the first place? What's one of the reasons that they're fighting? Yes, because of resources. And why are they fighting over resources in a world of supposed abundance? It's because they've overconsumed, right? Why have they overconsumed? What has led them? What has led them to overconsume exactly? How are the companies depicted even in the original Fallout games? Like, it's just so absurd to act like there isn't a critique of capitalism that exists within the Fallout universe. It's just such an absurd claim because it is fucking riddled with fucking criticisms of like capitalist shit. Do you know what I mean? It's just so ridiculous. Even in the original Fallout, all the stuff with the FEV and the mutants and shit, like the FEV came about because of companies doing bad shit, to put it very simply, you know? So yeah, I can agree that like making it too autistically about anti-capitalist mentality is cringe, but it's in the original games, and I don't think it's that crazy in the show. But anyway,
Oh, capitalism bad, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself. As some of you may have noticed, my last video got absolutely brigaded, more than maybe I've ever seen before, by Redditors, Discord groomers, outrage merchants on Twitter, the list goes on. That was
dude,
probably the least organic my comment section has ever looked, ever. But if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you might be thinking, well, that's nothing too out of the ordinary. That's happened a bunch of times to this channel. Well, even reading these comments, I knew something fishy was going on. The first thing I noticed is that there were a lot of suspiciously similar comments copy-pasted in the reply chains of all the top comments in my video. And they would only ever address the same few points, whether it's the show breaking the lore, or Shady Sands falling, and then the nuke happening after it fell, and we'll address that later in this video. But none of those comments addressed anything I actually said in the video itself. I think the only comments talking about the video itself were people triggered about my comments regarding interracial couples, which is funny because I didn't even give my opinion on interracial couples. I just brought up statistics and pointed out how it's
come on, dude, that's cope. Is this guy really trying to suggest that it's not reasonable to assume that he's got a negative view of interracial couples based on how he spoke about it in the show? No? Is that like a crazy conclusion? Come on, man.
propaganda that they appear in all modern media. But I guess with Redditors being proud cuckolds, literally, they feel the need to defend Tyrone's honor as he plows their wife every night.
Okay. Listen, this guy might be a retard, but that's a funny line. Come on, you cannot deny. This guy is coping, but that's funny. That is funny. And there's no two ways about it.
One to me is there would always be a comment claiming this show doesn't break the lore. Not explaining how it doesn't, just saying that it doesn't. You know, all the nitpicks aside, I would say the biggest retcon of all is Shady Sands teleporting 200 miles across California into the heart of LA. The Boneyard doesn't even exist in this show. No, Shady Sands is now in LA, which was not the case in Fallout 1. But to claim that it doesn't break the lore when you don't even know what the lore is, that's a fucking bot, dude. The second thing
I think, is that reasonable? I think that's fair. Like to if you change the location dramatically, yeah, I think that's a fair critique. Sure. But that's the thing. That's totally fine to say that and to be bothered with that, you know. And I said as well that like I looked at it a bit more and I kind of reflected on it and I was like, yeah, I do understand. There is a thumb on the scale that is happening in regards to the timeline and stuff, right? They're definitely, it's like they're trying to say it all fits in the law, but it's, to me, just absolutely true that they're kind of, you know, fudging that a bit, right? Like the fall of Shady Sands, the nuclear bomb, the age of fucking the Maximus guy, you know, there is definitely a bit of fudging happening. But for me, I'm like, you're like, I guess I'm not as invested as this guy, admittedly. So I'm like, okay, but it's cool to have like a kind of, high stakes thing happen or something like that, right? Were the bombs dropped by Voltec in the games? No, it's kind of confirmed that China started the war, I think. But I mean, in the show, it's not confirmed that that happened. So yeah, I think that there are definitely details if you're a lawhound that you're not going to like. Sure. I just think that for me, I'm like, okay, like I just think it's chill to change a few things here and there to make for a more compelling narrative. But if you're a big lore hound, you're not going to like it, and that's fine.
I noticed is that that video has way more comments than almost any video in the entire history of my channel. At the time of recording this, the video is just under 200,000 views and has 14,000 comments. For comparison, my Starfield video, which has 680,000, has 12,000 comments. And I'm sure some delusional person is going to say, well, it's just people arguing with each other. But these are my videos we're talking about. People are debating each other in the comments basically every time I give a negative take on a modern game. No, these are bots, actual AI chat bots that are being rolled out into YouTube comment sections.
Okay. I'm not so sure about that, dude. There's probably some bots. You know, there's always some bots that do the YouTube comment shit, but the idea that it's predominantly bots, I think, is retarded.
And so, suspecting these were bots, I wrote a pinned comment. And of course, I was inflammatory, but this is me we're talking about, so that's besides the point. But in the comment, I said, if you do not reply to one of these 3 questions posted, I will block you from this channel. And the whole point of that was to prove that you are not an AI chatbot. And what do you think happened? Well over 50 comments did not address any of the 3 questions in the post. And yes, some of these were just retarded Zoomers or millennial Redditors who were trying to throw a gotcha in. But no, there were quite a few that are just straight up fucking chatbot responses that don't address anything in the post. My story has been corroborated by V, not the board, but the Romanian, who's Sargon's buddy, you might remember from back in the day. He also confirmed he was debating with bots on Twitter. You can check out the Archcast video reviewing the show. Their comments are full of bots.
I suppose Arch is lying, yes, because I actually watched this show and I can confirm everything you said is false. Is that a bot comment? Really? I don't know about that. That seems kind of retarded. But
one thing
whatever.
I absolutely can't blame on bots, however, is the sheer number of people claiming I didn't pay attention to the first episode because I got a bunch of plot points wrong. Every single point I got wrong is because I only watched the first episode, which I stated in the last video. Yes, the show has this thing called plot twists. Did you want me to read a Cliff's Notes of every episode plot before I made?
Okay, okay, this is super cope, man. Because the thing is he was concluding super hard on a bunch of stuff that is obvious. Well, you would figure out that that's a plot line or plot point that's going to be developed, right? So it's fine to have a comment on something, but it's the fact that he was so conclusive about things without even giving the show a chance to breathe, you know? Like, super strong opinions about stuff. And it's like, yeah, you're wrong about this because it goes on to be explained, right? Or just a non-existent problem. Yeah, exactly. Or thinking there's putting a problem into the show that doesn't exist as well. Yeah. And the thing is, it's fine. Yeah, you didn't watch the whole series, and you did say that when you reviewed it. But then why were you fucking going so hard at certain points when you could easily intuit, okay, maybe this needs to be given a bit of fucking room to breathe before I can decide exactly what I think about this, this, and this, you know? But yeah.
The review? Are people not allowed to review just the first episode of a show? Look, I know a lot of the noticers in my audience are not the least bit shocked by this and probably don't really care that much, but this is fucking huge. Astroturfing has gotten completely out of control at this point. I've seen plenty of paid marketers on other websites, especially on Reddit and 4chan, but if now YouTube comments are just gonna be flooded with bots, there's gonna be no real discussion anymore. It'll be so easy to create the illusion of a majority opinion.
This is syntheticman, bro. He goes hard on everything. It's his whole channel. That's fine. It's fine to go hard on stuff on your channel. But the point I'm making is he's trying to cope with this excuse of, oh, it's just the first episode. When if you go back and listen to his coverage, he was way too conclusive about things than he should have been. And rather than just go, okay, do you know what? I did actually have some stuff explained. I've still got issues, but some stuff was explained by watching the whole show. He's just doing this cope response of, oh, I was just reviewing the first episode. What's your problem? And it's like, well, even with that and taken into account, you still had retarded takes about it, right? Which is just wrong. But anyway, he's reviewed the whole thing. Let's give him a chance. See what he's got to say.
And speaking of which, there were many bot comments that basically said something along the lines of, how does it feel to be in the minority opinion? If 99.9% of people think 2 plus 2 equals 5, does that mean they're right? No, it doesn't, you fucking idiots. Call of Duty sells like 20 million copies a year, and we all know it's trash. I don't care if everyone likes the Fallout show, it's still garbage. So yeah, sorry if that was a little long, but I had to get this out of the way first, just so that my viewers know that there's a very good chance you'll be debating with either bots or Redditors in bad faith who just hate me because I have controversial political opinions. There's nothing a Redditor hates more than people who can think for themselves. Alright, since I have to cover 7 episodes in one video, I'm going to heavily condense the plot synopsis for each episode and give my thoughts on the major details. I don't really have time to nitpick everything, and this video will be over an hour long, and I'm not going to make this over an hour long, I promise.
Dude! Mauler has the same opinion. He did not like the show. Who's dumber, the people who like the show or the retard who's replying to bot comments seriously? Honestly, okay, listen. No, listen, I like some stuff that Mauler's criticised, and I've enjoyed both. I've enjoyed watching it. And I've also then enjoyed listening to a takedown of it, you know? Like, you can do both.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
Bulletproof anti-bot technique. If you think him retarded, you have to say you are retarded, but I'm not a bot.
Thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. But yeah, I don't know, man. Look, at the end of the day, oh man, I should have watched EFAP's coverage of this guy before I did this, because they did a supercut of stuff, but I forgot. But yeah.
Promise you. So feel free to point out other things you hated about the show. I'm sure there'll be plenty I don't hit in this video. Without further ado, here's the rest of Fallout Season 1. Starting off with Episode 2, we have easily the worst episode of the show. It starts off where we see an Enclave research facility, I guess, and the one not evil Enclave scientist who spares a German Shepherd from incineration and takes it as his own. For some reason that is never explained, by the way, he gets access to this extremely important artifact that is the MacGuffin that drives the entire plot of the show. And in fact, after this scene, the Enclave never shows up again in the show. Long story short, he has to escape from the facility. An auto turret shoots at him and misses every fucking shot as he's moving at 2 miles.
Okay. I agree with him here. I do agree with that, right? That it's like such. Why have a scene where a minigun completely misses you? Like, it's so stupid. Just don't have that in. That was retarded. I 100% fucking agree. That was a total retarded thing. And watching it, I was like, what? I was just thinking, why even bother with this? It was goofy. It was goofy shit.
It's an hour. Look at how bad this looks. Just remember that people actually like this show every time you see shit like this. In the next scene, we see Lucy explore the desert wasteland of California, and the
Yeah, I commented on that when I saw it, but I thought about it for a total of 7 seconds and then I forgot about it. Yeah, I was... yes, exactly. It's like, to me, that doesn't ruin a show. But like to some autists, it absolutely ruins a show. Okay? And it's like, oh my God. I was on EFAP, I think. And they asked me what Marvel movies I like. And I think I said, oh yeah, I quite like The Winter Soldier, right? I think it was Fringy that was like, oh, did you like the bit where he pulled a pistol out of nowhere? Or something like that. And I was just like, can't remember that bit, but I thought the fight scenes were good. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think some people get autistically focused on... I mean, when I was younger, there was a website called nitpickers.com. And I used to look at it. I was like probably 12 or 13 or something like that, right? But it would go through exactly that, nitpicking a show for little details that are wrong. It was kind of like the proto-cinema sins, you know, or something like that. But, yeah, there is stuff like that that's a bit like, oh, okay, that's a bit stupid. But you just kind of leave it at that, don't you?
Enclave scientist finds her at night conveniently and tries to explain to her that the wasteland is an inhospitable nightmare where the creatures there have adapted to become more lethal and she needs to adapt in kind. This is one of many scenes where it shows Lucy is incredibly naive about the state of the world and she needs to become hardened to survive here. Guess what? She never does. Next scene, we're back with Maximus and we soon learn...
Wait, whoa, hang on a sec. In the last thing, didn't he say that she's a Mary Sue? I thought he was complaining about her being a Mary Sue before. But now he's complaining about the fact she doesn't adapt to the world upstairs. What the fuck? That's a bit inconsistent, isn't it, eh? That's like completely incoherent to the point you made in the first episode. And that's fine if you change your perspective, but like surely you would say, I called her a Mary Sue before, I watched a bit more, and that was wrong, and actually I don't like it for this reason, if that's what you want to say, or something like that. But like, I mean, also, I think that the arc of her also follows the arc of like a vault dweller in the game as well, because obviously when you leave the vault, you're like completely inept and you got no XP and you can't fucking do any damage. And then over time, you slowly build up the experience and weapons to the point where you can kill literally fucking anything, right? And do a bunch of cool shit. But at the start, you can get killed by a fucking rat. Which is, you know, imitated a bit in the show with that kind of dynamic.
That the knight that he's serving under is a pathetic weakling, asshole, and probably also racist. Yet for some reason, the genius showrunners, and Bethesda by extension, thought it was a good idea to make the Brotherhood of Steel evil, arguably the most marketable part of the Fallout universe. They made incredibly unlikable in this show. On the one hand, it did subvert my expectations completely. On the other, it just feels like yet another way to shit on the Fallout universe. And before some people strawman me, I'm not saying the Brotherhood of Steel should be like Fallout 3 where they're all good guy knights or whatever. I'm completely fine with the Brotherhood being xenophobic isolationists who preserve technology. I think that's great. Unfortunately, they never do that in this show. No, instead, Titus is a mega pussy. He gets taken out by a fucking Yao Guai, a guy in T60 power armor, taken out by a bear. And because he was an asshole, Maximus decides not to save him.
That's surprising from someone who is supposed to be like a lorehound because, yeah, they are presented... Well, I guess in... No, this is the second video. I guess in the first game, they're presented as more ambiguous, aren't they? They're not like good or bad. It's up to interpretation. And then in the second game, they're shown to have like dissipated and shit, right? The scene was funny. I love that response. I love that response. It was a funny scene. That's it. End of analysis. Now, I can understand the criticism there. I can understand the criticism of, you know, oh, but he's in T60 power armor. I kind of get where he's coming from. Because I know people are saying that it's a big enemy and stuff, but you would have thought, like, if you're at the stage in the game where you've got the top tier power armor, you would be absolutely fucking raping a bear, wouldn't you? So surely he should be able to cope with fighting a bear in power armor, no? It's, they made it more comedic. They made it comedic, didn't they? The point is they kind of like put their thumb on the scale a bit to make him less powerful, to make it more comedic. And I thought it was funny, but I understand. Listen, if you're a massive lorehead, that's going to bother you. I respect that. I respect that, okay? Yeah, LA writing. Yeah, it's very like I don't know. What's the word for it? Like Marvel tier. Did you just swear, Cap? Type stuff. Corny. Bit corny, yeah.
And then steals his power armor and pretends to be him. This is one of many moments where Maximus is borderline evil in this show. But I guess it's okay because the guy was a racist and he looks white. I do want to point out, he's not actually technically white, but I don't want to go into that. But of course the question...
Oh my god, is he talking about being a Jew? Wait, is he referencing being Jewish? He's talking about him being Jewish, isn't he? Because the guy's a fucking Jew. Right? Am I crazy? That's what he's saying, isn't he? Right? Yeah, that's what he's talking about. He's talking about him being Jewish, or he's not white. Fucking hell, man. He's going in depth on the race shit. Holy fuck. Bad faith? How is that bad faith? How else am I supposed to interpret that fucking comment?
question fine evil in this show, but I guess it's okay because the guy was a racist and he looks white. I do want to point out he's not actually technically white, but I don't want to go into that. But of course, the question
How else am I supposed to interpret that comment other than he's commenting on him being a Jew and Jews aren't actually truly white? Also, the other thing though is, how was he racist? I don't think he was racist, was he? He was just a dickhead to him. I think the whole point of it is not that he's doing it because of his race. He's doing it because he doesn't respect his position.
is, how the hell did Titus become a knight in the first place if you earn the power armor through acts of bravery? He was a complete pussy. But no, they don't explain it. And speaking of not explaining it, Maximus doesn't explain what happened to Titus. No, he just pretends that he died, and now he pretends to be Titus for almost the rest of the entire show. And there's no consequences for this, by the way. At the end, somehow the Brotherhood conveniently forgets that he told them that he died and Titus lived. Oh, and this...
Yeah, okay, listen. I got to be honest with you. I did not like the way that Maximus pretended to be the knight. I thought that was super fucking retarded. Like I was just watching it thinking, why not just fucking say? Why not just say what happened? Why, someone said, oh, it's because he wanted to have the power armor or something like that. But that wasn't really explained that well, I don't think, in the show, that that's the reason that he did it. But anyway, listen, like, I didn't like, listen, I'm biased on this. I didn't like the fucking Maximus character. Nothing to do with his race, obviously, because I'm not racist. But I just didn't like it. I didn't like the way he's presented. I thought his decisions were retarded. And watching his parts were literally the worst parts of the show for me. And I far more enjoyed it when I was watching the ghoul or the woman. The Vault Dweller.
This is not the only plot hole in this show. In the next scene, we're back to Lucy, and we get a scene straight out of Borderlands where some idiot is living out in the middle of nowhere with no resources, somehow surviving, and he drinks all of Lucy's water. Haha, so funny, she should stop trusting people, but she keeps doing it. Eventually, she heads over...
Okay, wait a second. I'm going to protect the woman because I'm an Amazon shill. But no, what was that? Okay, what's he trying to say there? He's trying to say she's not learning. But isn't that, again, part of the fucking show? Is like, yeah, she's totally retarded and too trusting early on, which is an example of that again, no? Yeah. See, this is what I mean when I say it feels like he was watching it wanting to hate it because he's seeing all these details in it and being very upset about details like that. And I'm just like, that seems to make more kind of coherent sense to me. And yeah, it's like, obviously, it's going to take time for you to be able to learn about what's going on and stuff like that. And again, that's like another aspect of Fallout is you leave the vault and you're very naive at first, as the character's naive, and eventually you learn and go from there, right?
to the town of Philly that's actually located in a forest. I gotta say, this is one of the few things I kind of liked about the show. There's a settlement that isn't out in the middle of a wasteland with no resources like Megaton. And yes, there absolutely would be forests. Not only has it been well over 200 years, which is more than enough time for the radiation to be gone, but also it's not like every inch of the country was hit with nukes. So this actually makes a lot of sense. I kind of like this. Now, something I really don't like is that Lucy comes across this shop called Ma's Rarities, and this old woman here explains to us that vault dwellers represent rich people and surface dwellers represent poor people. Again, this once again proves fans of the show haven't...
Wait, what? Hang on a minute. I didn't get that from that at all. Did anyone else get they're rich and they're poor?
And the thing I really don't like is that Lucy comes across this shop called Ma's Rarities, and this old woman here explains to us that vault dwellers represent rich people and surface dwellers represent poor people. Again,
I don't think they're supposed to represent poor people. It's just an accurate, well, accurate presentation of someone living on the surface, having had like, yeah, a hard life. Obviously living on the surface and all the fucking shit they had to go through in this post-nuclear war life versus living in a nice cushy vault and stuff like that. She did say something about only rich people afforded to get into the vaults. Oh, okay. Hmm. But I mean, again, is that not just a true part of the Fallout universe? Is poor people were unable to get into the vaults unless they're in one of those fucking test vaults, like the people that had the chem addictions, put in a vault. Actually, as much as Fallout 4 is concerned, listen, Fallout 4 is fun to play. I don't like this main story, but there is some funny bullshit in there, like the vault where they got a bunch of chem addicts in, put them through rehab, got them off chems, and then after a few years, they revealed a secret area where there was loads of chems and booze and shit, and then they just go ballistic and kill each other. Oh man, that's a funny vault. Vault-Tec are so good, man. They're so funny in the shit they pulled.
And this once again proves fans of the show haven't actually played the fucking games. Either that or they just conveniently ignore obvious propaganda right in their fucking face. No, Vault Dwellers represent a time capsule of the 50s retro future culture. That's why they're all so naive and friendly and neighborly, and they have to learn to survive in this inhospitable environment where everything's trying to kill you. Never at any point in any of the games is it implied that Vault Dwellers are rich people. The only vaults that maybe come close to that are the control vaults, and yes, it's set up that Vault 33 is a control vault, but it's not in reality. We'll get to that plot twist when it comes. The vast majority of vaults had horrific science experiments take place in them. I wouldn't exactly call that a haven for the rich. So of course the late
Yeah, but the point is they were tricked. They were told that it was safety and they'd be protected, and they were lied to, and then when they got in there, they got fucking experimented on, right? It was like a trick, yeah, exactly. And there were the control, like there were some vaults where I think, like the chem vault, say, wasn't a rich person thing, but like there were other vaults where it wasn't even about that, and it was just literally secure your place, get a place in the vault, and you were to be tested on, right? Yeah, I don't know, man. Listen, this guy clearly is very into the fucking lore shit, but I just feel like there's just little details that he's getting wrong, and it's because he wants to hate the show rather than just approaching it with an open mind.
lady doesn't help her, but conveniently the Enclave scientist caught up with her, and he reveals that he knows all.
Or is that something that was introduced by Bethesda, you're saying? Is that right? Oh, I see. Okay, so the original games, it wasn't quite like that. Is that what it is? I think the difficulty here is that, like, the lore has changed throughout the games, right? You've got like the lore of one and two. Was there many changes between 1 and 2? And then Fallout 3 made changes that were like unpopular. And then Fallout New Vegas has got other aspects, and then Fallout 4 obviously is considered to you know, be a complete destruction of the lore or whatever. Fallout 2 had gold coins as currency. So yeah, I don't know. It's difficult because it's like, what lore are we talking about? Because the lore has changed, and obviously it's not going to be exact to the first Fallout game, for example. But then Fallout 2 wasn't exact to the first Fallout game, right? And obviously Fallout 3 changed a whole bunch of shit. Yeah, it's very inconsistent, incoherent, and changes a lot, right?
About Vault 33, and of course it turns out that he's the guy that she's looking for to find a way to get to her father. Of course, the ghoul shows up, and we get half of a pretty cool action scene where we get to see Walton Goggins blow away a bunch of mercs, and actually, yeah, it's pretty cool. He's got some kind of shotgun firing, I guess armor-piercing sabot rounds, and no, I'm not gonna nitpick that. It's Fallout, obviously the guns aren't realistic, and Bethesda has proven time and time again, they know nothing about guns, but it looks pretty cool, I'll say that. One thing that does kind of bother me about this scene is that for some reason, ghouls are now basically immortal zombies. If you don't shoot them in the head, they don't die. That is a pretty big retcon, and don't try to tell me it isn't one, because it's never been established that you have to shoot them in the head. Even if you don't think gameplay is canon, which I think is just absurd, but we're not going to get into that. This is clearly a retcon. Also, in the chaos.
I agree with the retcon point. Okay, I agree with the retcon point. I don't really care that much about it personally. I get why someone might, but gameplay is not lore. Maybe for the ghoul thing, you could say, well, it's still the gameplay thing is like a side point because if you shoot a ghoul in the chest, they should die anyway. But yeah, I mean, gameplay. I mean, gameplay cannot possibly be lore. No, that is absurd. Right? I mean, just broadly, gameplay cannot be fucking lore. I mean, human beings can take like a fucking full clip of ammo in the chest before they die or something, right? Anyway, yeah. I mean, I don't think I've got much disagreement with what he's saying here. I guess, I just don't really care that much about. I thought the changes to the ghouls were kind of fun. I don't
As
know.
the ghoul stabs dog meat, and yes, I'll be calling the dog meat because Walton Goggins himself calls the dog meat near the end of the show, so might as well be. But don't worry, the dog doesn't die. Now this is where the episode goes to shit again. Lucy gives this grand speech, which is pretty cringe, shoots the ghoul with a tranq dart. We get an admittedly pretty good line.
Well, now that is a very small drop in a very, very large bucket of drugs.
And then Maximus shows up to save the day, and they fucking turned power armor into Iron Man armor. It looks so stupid. And if you think this looks bad, just watch this, guys. Come on, that's something straight out of a Bollywood film. Not to mention...
Yeah, that was goofy. I agree with that. That was goofy. I think everyone agrees with that, though, right? I think we all agree that was pretty fucking gay.
Maximus is an idiot. Why doesn't he have a gun? He had a gun in a previous scene. It didn't break. In the midst of this really shitty Marvel movie fight, the old lady grinds this metal boot onto the Enclave dude's leg, which just feels like straight shock value because it doesn't even save him, by the way. And then the ghoul shows up in the room, gives Dogmeat a stim pack, and now all of a sudden they're buddies. And of course, he uses Dogmeat to track down the Enclave guy. The episode ends back...
Wait a second. Hang on a minute. Goofy. Wait. Hang on. Look, I'm not defending it because I don't really like it, okay? But I'm just proposing something, right? Could it be Goofy on purpose to imitate the goofiness that sometimes happens in the game? I mean, we were doing this yesterday, right? With the fucking death claws. Where, I was like shooting them with a pistol, then they come and swipe me and I go flying and shit. Is that what it is? You think that's cope? I reckon that's what they were going for, you know? I don't think it worked. I didn't like it. But I can understand maybe that's what they were going for, right? Something like that.
In the middle of the desert again, the Enclave dude is starting to bleed out, and so he tells Lucy to chop off his head because...
How is it cope? I don't think that's cope. Wait a second. I don't think that's cope. I think that is what they were going for. I didn't like it personally, but that's a matter of opinion, right?
Because the thing they need is in his head. Again, this is done purely for shock value and his idiocy. The thing in his neck does not need to be in his head to work, so they carry around a fucking rotting head for the entire season. Nobody thinks to dig the chip out of his neck. Dude, they turn Fallout into Borderlands. You're gonna see that more.
Wait, hang on a sec.
Purely for shock value and his idiocy. The thing in his neck does not need to be in his head to work, so they carry around a fucking rotting head for the entire season. No.
I'm guessing, yeah. My thought process there would be, though, that they're trying to... Well, you're saying that she tried to get out and got buzzed. But then also on top of that, I guess they're trying to kind of... They're trying to imitate... Well, on the one hand, I think they're trying to imitate the kind of like... You know, you cut someone's head off and you pick it up and put it about the place, and it's kind of funny. It's like a quest item, yeah. In fact, there is one quest where you got to get the heads, isn't there? But then also, are they not trying to like obscure the fact that they've got this little fucking cold fusion chip, and so carrying a head is a good way to obfuscate that fact? I don't know. I guess I didn't think it was that crazy, But
Nobody thinks to dig the chip out of his neck. Dude, they turn Fallout into Borderlands. You're gonna see that more and more throughout this show. This is straight up fucking Borderlands cringe, unfunny garbage. And that's episode 2. I give it a 3 out of 10.
Right, we're back
the
in
only
1 sec,
reason
okay?
it isn't even lower than that is because Walton Goggins is pretty entertaining as the ghoul, and honestly, he only gets better from here. Everything else about this episode was awful. I feel like if you have any standards for television at all, you would have stopped watching the show after this episode. It was that bad. Now on to episode 3. It begins with a flashback before the war, as we see more of the life of Cooper Howard before he became the ghoul. It turns out he was in fact an actor for westerns, and his wife is an executive at Vault Tech. It's good to see even in the alternate future of the Fallout universe, we still have diversity hires in the highest position of power. Back in the present, we see that the ghoul has come across the corpse of the Enclave
what was that? What was that?
Ain't that bad. Now on to episode 3. It begins with a flashback before the war, as we see more of the life of Cooper Howard before he became the ghoul. It turns out he was in fact an actor for westerns, and his wife is an executive at Vault Tech. It's good to see even in the alternate future of the Fallout universe, we still have diversity hires in the highest position of power.
Black equals diversity hire. What the fuck? How can you just? That's fucking. Bro, that's just racist. It just is. Listen, I'm sorry to be soy, guys. Okay, I'm sorry to be soy with you guys. Okay, but that's just racist. What the fuck? Dude? It just is. It just fucking is. As simple as that. How could it not be? You just see a black person and immediately think diversity hire. It's absurd. Because the other thing as well is, yeah, we're talking about a future. The future too, where, you know, the direction is we move away from race being as important a fucking thing, right? Yeah, in fact, Soapbox, didn't this happen? Where there was some mayor or something that happened to be black and people were saying DEI, DEI, DEI. And people were like, what do you mean? It's nothing to do with fucking DEI. Right? Chucking off at the Tyrone joke, but not the diversity hire one. Because he's not joking, is he? He's not joking. I think it would be a gas right now. He's not joking about it. He genuinely thinks that. That genuinely is thought process, right?
Back in the present, we see that the ghoul has come across the corpse of the Enclave scientist, and we get yet another huge retcon. Ghouls now have to take a special serum to avoid going feral. In the original game, the reason why ghouls were hated, or at least were outcast from society, is because they were ticking time bombs. They could go feral at any moment. I can't remember if it's ever quite confirmed, but it's definitely suspected that extended exposure to radiation eventually rots their brain completely and they go feral. But no, now in the show, there's a special serum that they have to take periodically to avoid going feral. I know there's gonna be some idiot that's gonna say that this is not a retcon, but there were plenty of ghouls that survived over 200 years. What is it that happened in the past 15 after New Vegas that ghouls now all of a sudden have to take a serum? No, this is a fucking retcon. After a pointless scene with Lucy, we're back to Max.
Do all ghouls have to do that? I thought it was just a quirk of his particular character. Is it Radaway? Is it? Not confirmed to be Radaway. That's the law. Yeah. Anyway, the thing is yeah, for me, I'm just like, for me, that was a kind of, it's like artistic. They call it artistic license, don't they? Right? To me, it's like you're trying to give some sort of stakes to the game, so that he has got some sort of like weakness, right? Because if you look at the guy, he is like, I mean, he's a Mary Ghoul, isn't he? Like he's like literally fucking perfect in every possible aspect, right? Crack shot, you know, great in combat, all the shit. And it's like, he's OP, yeah, and it's like his only weakness. Like without that, like what has he got that's a detriment to himself? Well, nothing. He's like perfect in every possible fucking respect. So he needs to have something at least that gives a bit of stakes to his character. So again, not lore accurate, perhaps. Can understand you're not liking it if you're a big lore hound. But from a TV perspective, I can kind of understand why they wanted to give him some stakes, you know?
Maximus, and this is the scene I mentioned last episode where he lies to the Brotherhood pretending to be Titus and says that Maximus died. Again, there's no consequences for
Yeah, that's true as well, yeah. That you could have just written him slightly differently so he wasn't a completely OP fucking Giga Chad slaughtering everything type character or something maybe. But anyway.
for this. It never comes up again. After a borderline pointless scene where he has to sell one of his teeth to afford repairing a part, a bunch of raiders try to steal his power armor, and he gets his ass beat, again,
Oh my god, this scene was fucking stupid. I thought this scene was retarded. Oh god. Most of the scenes with this guy were really fucking stupid and I didn't like them.
because he lost his gun off screen. He does manage to beat up most of them, including crushing one of their heads with the power armor. And then the Brotherhood of Steel arrives, giving him a new squire. And of course, it's one of the guys who beat him up in the first scene he shows up. And so Maximus, being one of our main protagonists, a hero we can all look up to, nearly crushes his fucking head! Dude, I couldn't believe this. Is he supposed to be a villain? Man, you can tell these guys got beat up in high school, and this is their revenge fantasy, because
Wait, what?
Maximus is giving him a new squire. And of course, it's one of the guys who beat him up in the first scene he shows up. And so Maximus, being one of our main protagonists, a hero we can all look up to, nearly crushes his fucking head! Dude, I couldn't believe.
Wait, I didn't think he was gonna... I thought that was just like a kind of, like a blessing type situation, though. I don't think he was gonna crush his head, was he? I thought it was more of a, like a... I now, you know... Oh, you thought he was tempted? Oh, okay. Oh, well, okay. In that case, I got it. I misinterpreted it. Fair enough. Anyway, listen, guys. Listen. Look. Listen, I think I'm being more than reasonable with this whole fucking thing, okay? I'm not just disagreeing with the guy. I've agreed with some of his takes. Chud is fair.
Believe this. Is he supposed to be a villain? Man, you can tell these guys got beat up in high school, and this is their revenge fantasy, because Maximus continues the cycle of bullying, doing exactly what Titus did to him. When we get back to Lucy,
Yeah, that's true as well, though, right? He's like... Lucy is the typical Vault villain. A Vault dweller, right? The fucking... Ghoul is clearly like an anti-hero type character, morally questionable and dubious and stuff, right? And the same, I think, applies to Maximus. I think what they were trying to go for was like characters are morally dubious and there's no definitive good or bad in the world or something like that, right? But in terms of like the cycle of abuse, my thought process there was like, is that just how it works in the Brotherhood of Steel? Like the fucking guy that got mauled by the bear, has he gone through the same process? Is that why, you know, he was acting like that because he was treated like that as he was going through the ranks, you know? Like a cycle of abuse that is just present because of the nature of the organization or something. I mean, the Ghoul does fucked up shit, but then my thought process was he does fucked up shit because of what's happened with his family and over time and stuff like that. Paladin Dance was only a hero type in the Fallout series and he was a fucking synth. True. Yeah, exactly. That was the way I looked at it. I thought, oh, okay, I see what they're going for here. So Maximus got treated badly, and now he's in the position of power. A bit like the fucking Lombardo shit, where like the people that are in positions of power end up abusing that power because of the psychological treats of doing so or something.
I'm now realizing I neglected to mention what she's actually doing. She's trying to deliver the head to the raider chick, Moldaver, whose real identity is really stupid, but we'll get to that at the end. Anyway, she comes across a lake and is attacked by a gulper, which you may remember from the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. Now, they looked completely different in that. Now they're giant pink salamanders with fingers in their mouths for some reason. This makes them seem more like an FEV mutant. Why the hell would radiation make you grow human fingers in your mouth? Whatever. Anyway, it eats the head. Of course, the ghoul catches up with her and decides to use her as bait while he
Yeah, do you know what? I reckon that if there's one criticism of that, it could be they could have used a kind of original lore character, like what's the fucking Mirelurks or something like that. You know, I would probably would have preferred because I recognize that because I've played a bit of the Far Harbor DLC and I haven't actually completed that part of it, but I remember seeing those and I was like, oh, that's like a DLC fucking monster or something. Um, but yeah, don't care, look cool. I love DK's take on all of this. DK's take is just like, yeah, I thought it was cool. That's so based. But yeah, in any case, aside from that, like I would have preferred like a Mirelurk or something would have been cool. But that is explained in the show, so I don't know if he's watched the whole show. The whole point of it is they were like engineered or something in that vault, right? But anyway,
Monologues about how ineffective torture is. This is probably the scene where I ended up liking this guy because he's definitely a villain. I don't know if they were attempting to write an anti-hero, but he's definitely not. He's a villain, but he's a good villain. Walton Goggins is a great actor.
hang on a minute. Wait, hang on. I mean, the line can be blurred sometimes, but I think he's more an anti-hero because he goes on to do better things at the end, right? I don't think he's a straight up villain. He does villainous things, but that's what anti-heroes sometimes can do really shitty things, but then they have like a character arc where they start to do better things or something like that, right?
And I think they were trying to go for a New Vegas vibe with the cowboy thing, but to me, it honestly feels more like a character straight out of the New Vegas Bounties mods developed by Some Guy 2000. And those are all great if you haven't played them. Despite being some of the oldest mods for New Vegas, they're still probably the best. Back at Vault 33, we get our third concurrent plot throughout the season, the mystery behind this triple vault system. I gotta say, it was actually pretty intriguing. For a while, this was my favorite part of the show, and the reason I kept watching. Big Schnoz actually turns out to be a pretty good character.
Oh my god! Thank God, dude. One thing that is annoying is he's like he is taking an L there because he had such a strong take on the first episode, right? But he's not really taking the L. He's just you know. I guess it's not that big a deal, but it's like, dude, you were fucking shitting on this guy without knowing anything about him. Now you're saying, yeah, he's a good character.
Unfortunately, they really ruin it at the end, so I'm not going to cover it episode by episode. We'll talk about the whole side plot when it wraps up at the end. After we get a scene dedicated to Maximus just abusing his bully, we get another subtle retcon. The bully implies that the Brotherhood of Steel is going to wipe out ghouls from existence. Did the writers confuse the Brotherhood with the Enclave? Killing ghouls has never been an objective of the Brotherhood. Where the hell did this come from? And don't even tell me he pulled this out his ass just because he's supposed to be a racist. Though, actually, knowing these writers, maybe that is exactly what they're implying. But anyway, back to the ghoul and Lucy. The Gulper eventually takes bite, nearly voring Lucy, but of course it gets away. And this is where another...
Are you saying you have a good and a bad take, lunacy? Listen, listen. I just thought it was funny how autistic this guy was being and how insane he was going over some of the race stuff. I don't think this guy's evil. I think it's funny to laugh at him being a bit of a fucking autist racist dude sometimes, but I don't think he's fucking evil. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like soying out over this coverage at all. It's just, yeah, I just think he's a bit off the mark at times. But, you know, this is a lot fairer video than this first analysis, right? Like he is funny. He's funny at times as well, right? He's like, you know, and at least he's given fair due to like some of the better, more interesting. Like I completely agree about his plot. The side cat. I was very intrigued by that as well. I was very intrigued by the side plot of this, the vault thing. I thought that was a really good plot line. But apparently it gets ruined, so I guess we'll see his take
major
on that.
Plot hole happens. The ghoul says Gulpers digest slowly. He then makes a joke about side quests.
Wasteland's got its own golden receiver.
No, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
Ooh, wow, haha, so meta. And then he leaves to go sell Lucy's organs. I'm not making this up. That is the sequence of events. I seriously...
I mean, yeah, it was kind of a funny moment, though. I quite like that. God, dude. This guy. Yeah, there's lots of parts of the show that are meta, and that's the point, isn't it? They're trying to gesture towards the game. But holy God, man. Jesus. This dude is like a next level hater for this shit, isn't he?
You have to ask at this point, if you're a real human and you like this show, did you get high before watching? Were you drinking? Did you get vaxxed 3 or 4 times? How the hell could you like this show? So back to Maximus and the Squire, we get an incredibly awkward...
Oh, wait a second. This is why I mean, yeah, okay. I will agree with that, right? Is that him selling this person like an anti-hero? It's too villainous to sell her to an organ harvester. I would agree with that, okay? That was pretty crazy for like an anti-hero to do, right? Like that was a pretty extreme measure. Because I think that was a bit much for me. But hey, look, at the end of the day, I understand you might not disagree with that, but that for me, I was like, oh God, I thought this guy's supposed to be an anti-hero, not like a complete monster.
Awkward scene.
Rewind.
That is the sequel.
Oh, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
Ooh, wow, haha, so meta. And then he leaves to go sell Lucy's organs. I'm not making this up. That is the sequence of events. I seriously have to ask at this point, if you're a real human and you like this show, did you get high before watching? Were you drinking? Did you get vaxxed 3 or 4 times? How the hell could you like this show? So back to Maximus and the Squire, we get an incredibly awkward scene where Maximus gets the Squire to explain why he bullied him. But obviously, since he's still pretending to be Titus, he does it by trying to get him to say something horrible about him, and this somehow leads him to explaining that the only reason he bullied Maximus is because he himself was bullied until he showed up, and so he just redirected the bullying to Maximus. And so it's supposed to be this big like, oh, see, this guy's not so bad. And so then Maximus starts treating him better. Unfortunately, this goes in a really stupid direction later, but I actually kind of like this scene. It felt much more mature than the rest of the show, but it was handled somewhat poorly. Oh, and I know I said I wasn't going to bring up the Vault 33 subplot, but I do want to point out that a black guy who I guess is an engineer says that the water chip is broken, and they never bring it up again. So that was just a completely pointless reference to Fallout 1, which is funny because if you've played Fallout 1...
Oh God, another black guy. I remember when I did media studies way back when I was like 16. And one of the things I learnt about is in journalism, right? They say that, and this is quite funny because it's gone to quite an extreme in some cases, right? But they say that you shouldn't reference the race of someone unless it's pertinent to the story. That's like a principle, like thing in journalism, okay? Is, avoid mentioning the race unless it's pertinent. And I feel like this guy goes in totally the opposite direction. And whenever there's a black person on screen, he goes out of his way to mention the fact that they're black. Because that dude being black is totally irrelevant to anything. Right? Why does it matter the guy's black? Like, it's just such a fucking unnecessary thing to point out. A vault dweller comes along and says the water chip is broken. I don't know. There's just what relevance of it for the reason he's black. Oh, man. It just seems like a bit excessive for me. A bit rich for my blood. Noticing is illegal. Noticing what? There's a black guy in a show. And then Han Solo lands on Bespin and gets out of the Millennium Falcon. And a black guy comes along with his gay robot and starts talking to it. Dude, come on. But yeah, okay, wait a second. The water chip thing, I've got 2 views on that. One is that it's going to be a plot point in the second series, or 2, it is like an Easter egg type situation for the first Fallout game. It's one of those like fan service scenes, like, oh, water chip. Oh my God, I know what that is from the first game. Ooh.
You know that this show completely shits all over the story with all of the retcons. You want me to name another big one? The Master, the villain of the original game who was turning people into super mutants, was finding those people from vaults, and his headquarters was located near the Boneyard. It would have been in spitting distance of Vault 33. You're telling me that he never found this vault that was out in the open? He never managed to get inside and mutate all those people into super mutants. Speaking of super mutants, there are...
I think that's fair. I think we can agree that's a fair lore-focused criticism if you are a lore head.
Are none in this show. The West...
But then on the other hand, coming out of the vault into the Santa Monica Pier looks cool. So, there's that aspect too.
coast canonically has intelligent super mutants, unless they all got killed by the Brotherhood of the Enclave or something. But no, they are never mentioned in this show. One of the most iconic things in the Fallout franchise isn't in the Fallout TV show. Okay, enough tangents. Let's wrap up this episode. Eventually, Maximus catches...
Yeah, that's true. I think some people were disappointed because they didn't want to... They wanted to see super mutants. That's fair. Yeah. Also, it is kind of funny to know that, like, this guy was so fucking brutal in the first episode review, but, like, now he's watched it a bit more, he's more willing to grant there's this that he liked, there's this that he liked, there's this that he liked, you know? Which just goes to show that maybe just be a little bit less concludy about things on certain aspects, right?
Is up to the head. He saves his squire from being devoured alive, yanks out its guts, and now they have the head. And for the final scene, it cuts back to the ghoul and Lucy, and to just spit in my face in particular, and all the shills who fucking lied in my first review. The ghoul drinks water directly in front of Lucy. And you know what's funny? In a later episode, he eats food, too. Ghouls need water to survive. This has been established multiple times in the series, and it's now established in the show, and yet he was buried underground for years with no water or food. Explain it, shills. Explain it.
Was he underground for years? I didn't know if he was underground for years. Was he? He had an IV bag. Yeah, I mean, look, it was, you know, it was obviously one of those moments where it's like, it looks cool over, like, let's figure out exactly how the dynamics of this work, I think, sure, there's, yeah. But I thought it was cool, so I don't really care that much. Dude, this is the problem with some of this stuff, is he's complaining about it, and I'm like, okay, if you're a big lore head, I understand that you're not gonna like that, but it looked fucking cool, okay? Go pull it out of the fucking ground. Come on, dude.
And for the final scene of the episode, we're back in the past again, and we see that Cooper inspired the Vault Boy. Yes, even though the Vault Boy has blonde hair, no, it was Walton Goggins' character throwing up a thumbs up that inspired the Vault Boy. Wow, what a great addition to the Fallout lore. Alright, episode 3 gets a 4 out of 10. It was definitely better than the last one. I suppose if you turned off your brain completely and didn't care about the Fallout lore at all, it's kinda watchable, but it certainly isn't good by any metric.
Oh my, okay. I do feel like this is also falling foul of the thing that I spoke about before, that I've had before, where I was in Edinburgh doing a show years ago at the Fringe Festival. Years ago. Okay, listen, Carmen, that's a funny meme, but I can't have that in the Discord, unfortunately. Carmen just straight up posted the "around blacks never relax" meme in the Discord. But we got to be careful with that. Funny meme, though. Yeah, sure. I thought it was kind of a fun detail. But again, I get why a lot of people won't like it. But when I was in Edinburgh doing a show at the Fringe Festival, many years ago now, I was with a bunch of people when the Lord of the Rings movies came out, right? And I asked them, like, we got talking about what they thought about it, and they were the biggest lore hounds going, and they just complained and complained and complained. Oh, hey, Fallout. About the lore issues with the films, and they were complaining. Like, I vividly remember this conversation. You know, there's like some things you just remember for the rest of your life for some reason. But I remember being there, and they were complaining about the fact that, like, Gandalf came into the village in the wrong direction. That was genuinely a complaint that they issued about the show. I was like, dude, really? And I think some of this is falling a bit foul of that, where it's like, there's no room for movement. Just like about how Chud complained about the Halo show. No. I'm sorry to break it to you, but there's a difference between autistically complaining about details of the lore and fundamental changes to the lore of the series. There's big differences between those two things, okay? Like, you're really going to act like this is... Okay. I need to watch the Halo show so I can comment on it properly, okay? Absolute false equivalence, true. But yeah, in any case, the point I'm trying to make is it's fine to be concerned about the law, but you've sometimes the law's going to change, and it's going to suck if you're a big lawhead, but sometimes it can be the service of something that's just cool, okay, and is based, and that's fine, all right?
On to episode 4. This one is supposed to be all about Lucy losing her innocence and seeing how horrific the wasteland is. It starts off with the ghoul taking her to some other ghoul guy who's about to turn feral, and I'm just gonna call him Cooper for the rest of the show. The ghoul is such a stupid fucking name. Cooper shoots him before he goes feral and then starts eating him. He's not even feral, yet he'll fucking eat other ghouls. What the hell?
Okay, that was pretty crazy. The eating the other ghoul was pretty wild. I was like, what the fuck is that, dude? Why is he eating his fucking fellow ghoul?
I guess I finally figured out why Zoomers like this show. He eats ass.
Come on, Volty. Ass jerky don't make itself.
In the next scene, we see Lucy has gotten so thirsty that she's willing to drink irradiated water. And conveniently, Cooper starts to turn feral because he ran out of serum, I guess. So Lucy makes a run for it, but he catches her with his lasso, but then she ends
I don't know if... Wait, he's not... I don't think he's turning feral there. He's just getting impacted by not having the meds or something, right? The irradiated water scene was pretty cool. That was a bit of fan service type, you know, when you're desperate for HP at the early part and you drink irradiated water because you've got no other option.
up biting his finger off, and so to get even, he slices one of her fingers off, and she barely even reacts, dude. What is this
That was pretty crazy. The finger cutting was pretty weird.
Terrible acting. And you guys say she's not a Mary Sue. Oh, and once again, I want to briefly talk about Vault.
Wait, and now he's calling her a Mary Sue again. Earlier he said... Okay. Dude, this guy's all over the place for what is and isn't a Mary Sue.
33, because Sweet Home Alabama ends up hooking up with the blonde chick after her husband died, and she's pregnant with his child. And she ends up giving birth, and Alabama raises another man's child. Now I know why Redditors like this show.
Oh my god, dude. What has happened? Okay, I remember when I'm being like a stepfather was like a moral thing to do, right? It was like a moral aspect of, you know, it was a good thing to raise another man's kids and the other man wasn't there. But now it's become like, oh, you're just like a cuck, basically. Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's weird to me. He said he said she's a Mary Sue in the first episode, and then earlier he said she needs to like learn the ways of the wasteland, and spoiler, she doesn't. And now he's calling her Mary Sue again. But yeah, I mean, I guess this is more propaganda. I don't know, man. It's to me. I thought the whole point of this was just to demonstrate he's kind of a cowardly dude who wants an easy life. You know? Like, yeah, exactly, Boots, yeah. It's presented as if it's an aspect of his cowardice that he's doing it. It's presented, exactly. He's spineless, it's presented negatively. So surely that would be a good thing for you.
But before I start saying stuff that's going to get me banned, let's get back to Lucy and Cooper. He ends up delivering her to a super duper mart that functions as a organ harvesting clinic. As soon as she gets inside, he passes out. I guess that's part of the process of becoming feral now. And she ends up meeting a Mr. Handy, and she acts like she's never seen one before. I mean, I can understand her vault not having any of them, but really? She knows about power armor. Whatever. We get another kind of stupid scene where the Mr. Handy sews a rotting finger that was just sitting in a drawer for who knows how long.
Okay, this was kind of stupid. That was kind of stupid. I did watch that. I was like, what? That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like you cut the finger off and you create these stakes of her not having a finger, and then it's immediately resolved. That was retarded. I can imagine that's the kind of thing that Mauler would autistically soy out about. But yeah, I agree. That shit is fucking... I was like, what? Yeah, it was like shock value stuff. Yeah, shock value fake out. Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, no finger. Oh, that's weird. Like, it was a weird thing that happened, but I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then it was like immediately resolved.
frozen onto her hand, and it just works. Then the Mr. Handy rolls her out to the two
Yeah, also, yeah, they wanted to harvest the organs. Why would they fix a finger?
owners of this legitimate business, and they're straight out of Idiocracy. There's no guards here, by the way, either. These guys own like more than a dozen slaves, yet they couldn't afford any raider guards or mercs or anything to that effect. Paradise Falls from Fallout 3 had to have at least 20 slavers in there who were fully armed and competent. But, you know, in the Fallout TV show, it's just two retards and their robot. Because, you know, no one would be smart enough to try and actually raid a place full of supplies. No. Especially not after the NCR collapsed. There definitely wouldn't be raiders trying to get supplies, no. Oh, and it gets even dumber. When the Mr. Handy takes her to the surgery room, it doesn't sedate her, and she just kicks its fucking arm? A 90-pound woman kicked a robot's arm and then just rolled off of the bed. Then she uses a defibrillator to shock the thing. Anyway, she rolls out the Mr. Handy to the two idiots. They make a joke about her holding a air conditioner hostage. While they don't draw their guns, because she's clearly no threat to them, she reveals that she filled its hose with a Braxo cleaner, which is basically just supposed to be bleach, but the show acts like it's hydrochloric acid. Either way, she gets them to release all of the slaves, including feral ghouls, which, why the hell do they have feral ghouls as slaves? Don't even try to tell me that ghoul organs are good for something, and obviously you can't use feral ghouls for any slave labor. This doesn't make any sense. Did anyone watching this show use their brain at any moment? Whatever, the ghoul.
Oh, so she was going to get turned into a ghoul or something? What were the ghouls about? Oh, they're making this serum. I must not have been paying attention during the show. I don't know what the fuck that was all about, okay? I think, okay, it wasn't really explained, was it? It was ambiguous. Yeah.
Ghouls and the idiots manage to take each other out, except for one woman who's barely holding it together. Of course, she ends up going feral, and Lucy has to pick up the 10mm pistol from Fallout. Make sure to get your replica in the Bethesda store. You know what's funny? There was a bot that actually tried to say this show was made with love because they made a replica 10mm pistol from Fallout 4. This isn't even the original design for the 10mm pistol. No, this is the Fallout 4 redesign. In fact, all of the iconic Fallout weapons are the Fallout 4 designs. And look, I realize this is completely subjective and up to personal.
Wait, hang on a sec. The pistol that the Brotherhood of Steel people have, isn't that the original Fallout first game design? In any case, yeah, I feel like you're a bit too autistically obsessed with the lore if you're worried about the design of the pistols. I mean, dude, like, come on. It's supposed to be, oh look, it's a cool gun from the game. Wow. Dude, it's too much. It's too much.
Taste, but I just think the Fallout 4 gun designs are ugly. So as we just saw, Lucy, who's totally not a Mary Sue girl boss, single-handedly took out this organ harvesting operation and then gives Cooper a vial of the ghoul serum to save him. After she leaves, Cooper heads inside and raids all of their supplies and watches one of his old cowboy movies. And I guess since he doesn't need the bounty from the Enclave guy's head anymore, he drops out of the plot for a while. And that's episode 4. Again, I'd probably have to give it another 4 out of 10. It was barely watchable. Again, the show is dumb as hell, but at the very least, Walton Goggins' acting is very entertaining to watch, but pretty much everything else about the show sucks. Now on to episode 5. The first scene in this episode is incredibly stupid. Maximus reveals to his squire that he's not in fact Titus, and so Maximus is like, listen, we gotta get our story straight before we report back to the Brotherhood, but no, the squire guy is like, they're gonna kill you. Why the hell would they kill him, especially if he hadn't lied in the first place?
Hey, thanks for the £2. Yeah, true, nice shift, exactly. Anyway, guys, we're gonna do the whole thing here. We're gonna get the whole thing squared away, no matter how long it takes. So we're going to be here for a bit longer. Support the stream if you so desire. Appreciate all the support. Thank you. All that good stuff. Blah, blah, blah.
Place. But even though he did lie, he could just say that Titus died honorably in combat, and so he had to take up the power armor to finish the mission. Why would they kill him for that? They're not even supposed to be here in the West Coast. They were eliminated by the new California Republic. And by the end of New Vegas, depending on who you sided with, they were either absorbed into the NCR or wiped out completely by like all of the other factions. That's really something I should have mentioned in the first
no,
video,
not
but
tonight.
my point
It's
is,
too
it
late
doesn't
for
really
me.
make any sense to bring them back just to make them look this bad. Anyway, Max is being clearly an evil psycho.
Love your Chud and chat, but who cares? But it looks cool. A good refute to his points. Actually, he has referenced quite accurately the lore of the show, and you are saying that it just looks cool. You are not really refuting his points in doing that. Bro, are you for real? We're not talking about a fucking... Dude, guys are so autistic, it's unbelievable, man. Excuse me, he's referenced that the T-60 power armor would not actually have any problem fighting a Yao Gaoi bear. And you were just saying it looks cool, though. Do you have a source for that claim? Come on, dude! Who's read it again? Sorry, who's read it again? Remind me.
Stomps on the Squire's foot, crushing it, and it looks horribly mangled when they show it later. But he manages to get behind him and removes the fusion core from the power.
They're not using the original 10mm bullet pattern, number 3991, from the beta version of Fallout 1. Like, listen, you're being the Redditor now. You're Reddit. You are Reddit. Okay? You need to understand. Look, you need to understand. I appreciate that someone's a lore hound, okay? And you're going to be upset with the law being changed. But then on the other side of it, you got to recognize that some people don't give that much of a shit about it and are just like, looks cool, right? Like, what? You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be a refutation. It's just a difference of fucking opinion.
Armor, which of course the showrunner's doing zero research. Think that you get locked inside the armor when it runs out of power. Can you imagine in Fallout 4 if when you ran out of fusion cores you just got soft locked? And don't tell me that's just a gameplay mechanic. That makes no fucking sense. Even in the dystopian world of Fallout, you don't think someone would have brought up at some point that you get locked inside power armor if it runs out of power? Yeah, again, more bad writing and retcons, but no, the show never breaks the canon. The show never breaks canon. I'm not an AI chatbot.
I mean, yeah, obviously, it's, again, it's another kind of artistic license for the show. But of course, it is retarded to think that the way you could stop someone in power armor is just taking the power core out, the fusion core out, and then you're just trapped in there. Like, there would obviously be an emergency fucking release you could pull or something like that.
I swear. Anyway, the next morning, a bunch of rad roaches tried to devour him.
Yeah, listen, I mean, as I've said throughout the show, there's moments where I was like, oh yeah, this is stupid, you know? So, yeah, I can understand not liking the writing and having a, what is it called? The, well, I'll call it the Mauler autism, you know? The kind of like objective analysis of the writing or something like that, whatever the fuck it is, okay? So I do understand that. And I will probably watch someone cover it to that autistic level and be like, yeah, I agree with this point, this point, this point, this point, right? Yeah, exactly. It's purposefully breaking its own rules to service its story when there are ways around it. Yeah, that's the Mauler autism I'm talking about, right? And that's fine. I don't mind that. In fact, I enjoy watching that analysis, you know? I probably will enjoy looking at it, but, you know, I just think that... I mean, to be honest with you, this is better than the original review. You know, I still think he's being a bit too lore houndy, and also I think that he's wanting to hate the show. But he's at least giving it a bit of a fairer shake than last time. It is, however, also very racist. But some people in my chat probably like that.
Him alive, but Lucy just so happens to find him. Guys, how big is this wasteland supposed to be? 3 blocks? And yes, I know Lucy has a tracker on the head, but the Squire already left hours ago. What are the chances she would pass down the exact same path where the head was the previous night? Whatever, I guess I'm nitpicking again. So after a really long, pointless conversation, Lucy decides to trust him. Maximus is like the one guy she should trust because he literally saved her life. But anyway, they start traveling together and she asks him what happened in the last 200 years. And this idiot thought that when she mentioned the bombs falling, that she was referring to the nuke dropped on Shady Sands and not the world ending. So we've established that the Brotherhood of Steel is not only debatably evil now, but they don't even teach initiates basic history. Eventually, the pair come across 2 suspicious figures on a bridge, and Maximus, being smart for once, says we should draw our gun, because we can't trust anyone, right? Because Lucy just told us that she doesn't trust people anymore, right? No, this fucking dumb bitch doesn't want to draw her gun, and oh, big shock, they turn out to be fiends. Yes, they're trying to throw a bone to New Vegas fans after shitting down their throat multiple times. And one of the fiends gets gets a shot off on Maximus. He loaded a rotten tooth into his gun, which I'm not even going to get into that, but whatever. The point is, he gets injured because Lucy's an idiot.
Hey! The rotten tooth thing was fun, I thought. I like that. I thought that was fun. Oh, you've got a rotten tooth in your arm. That was based.
Next up, we finally get to the biggest fuck you in the entire show, where we see the giant crater where Shady Sands used to be. It was populated with 34,000 people. And as they reveal in the later scene, it looks like they basically restored civilization back to the wasteland, just like I said in my review of episode 1. And like I mentioned in the intro, this is not where Shady Sands is located. Shady Sands is not in LA. It's like at least 100 miles outside of it. They could have looked this shit up on the wiki, man. There's no excuse. They didn't do any research. And Todd Howard hates what Fallout's really about, and that's a post-apocalypse where humanity is trying to rebuild after the world ended. And by the time of Fallout New Vegas, they succeeded. The new California Republic dominated the state. They effectively brought the old world America back, though arguably even more corrupt, and it was starting to fall apart at the time of New Vegas. If you paid attention to the dialogue from a lot of the characters, especially Caesar, a big part of his motivation with the Legion was seeing the gradual decline of the NCR. But instead of seeing that happen naturally due to the results of the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, no, Bethesda just fucking nuked it back to square one. Somehow, just destroying the capital city wiped out an entire empire across the state. Why did Bethesda do
that? I don't know if that's been confirmed that the NCR is totally wiped out, no? Because obviously, well, you see, we're in spoiler territory. You see New Vegas at the end of the series, so it could be they're still there, I guess. I don't fucking know. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to let that play out and see what lore stuff comes up. But in any case, yeah, I don't know if it's just because Shady Sands is gone, the NCR is totally wiped out. It's like they're the remnants in that area, but there could well be more.
this? Well, a lot of people speculate it's because of the long-running rumor that they hate Fallout New Vegas because they didn't make it, Obsidian did. And a lot of the people who worked on Fallout New Vegas worked on Fallout 1 and 2. And so, of course, to no one's surprise, the original creators of the series did a much better job than the hacks at Bethesda. And Fallout New Vegas is still considered by most to be the greatest game in the series. So Bethesda has been butthurt about this for over a decade, and this show was finally their opportunity to say fuck you to all the real fans of Fallout. That's exactly what happened, and that is why I fucking despise the people who like this show. Fallout died with Fallout 4, and this is just pissing on the corpse. In the last couple scenes of the show...
Okay, right, yeah, so this guy does have like kind of an axe to grind, right? But I don't know if it's true that they hate New Vegas or something like that. But you know, listen, I get where the guy's coming from on that. Exactly, yeah. I don't know if it's true that like apparently Todd Howard loves New Vegas. It's like a New Vegas, it's like a conspiracy, isn't it? Or something like that, right? It's okay. Well, you guys, I'm sure, can argue adequately about that, chat. I don't know if there's a good enough evidence to back that. I don't really care either way that much. He despises me. Well, I mean, yeah. I'm sure, listen, if me and him were ever have a chat, I'm sure it would be fine. We'd probably have a laugh about him being racist, you know? But in any case, like, he's clearly got a fucking axe to grind, right? At some points made there, I'm like, okay, sure, but he clearly is bothered and he's got an axe to grind. He hates Bethesda, he hates Todd Howard, he hates Fallout 4, so on and so on and so on, right?
Lucy and Maximus take refuge inside of Vault 4, and it's another vault that has somehow managed to survive over 200 years. Do the writers even understand the appeal of the vaults in the Fallout games? Discovering the horrendous experiments that either killed or mutated everyone inside is one of the most fun parts of those games. And while it's obvious that some experiments went down here, they subvert your expectations, I'll put it at that. And that's the end of episode 5. I can't really give this a real rating because I skipped about half the episode, since about half of it was the Vault 33 subplot.
Yeah, sure. I think that for me is like, it would have been fun to have like a shitty vault with a shitty experiment in that they found. I mean, I guess the thing is in this one, there is a shitty experiment, but they overtook it or something, right? Which does happen with some of the vaults. But yeah, there would have been cool to have like exploring an abandoned vault and finding out something about the experiment in there or something like that. I don't fucking know. So it's like more of a nice to have than a, oh, it's wrong for doing this and it should have done this instead.
And I will say that half of the episode was definitely better.
Wait,
The
what?
show had the of the vaults in the Fallout games. Discovering the horrendous experiments that either killed or mutated everyone inside is one of the most fun parts of those games. And while it's obvious that some experiments went down here, they subvert your expectations, I'll put it at that. And that's the end of episode 5. I can't really give this a real rating because I skipped about half the episode, since about half of it was the Vault 33 subplot. And I will say that half of the episode was definitely better, but showing where Shady Sands got nuked is such a massive fuck you to the real fans of Fallout that I can't really rate this in good faith. It ruins the entire series.
Wait, why did he skip off the episode? Wait, is he saying he skipped the bit that he said that he liked the look of? Huh? Why? Why not just watch it? Wait, I'm so confused. Why did he skip most of it? And it's the bit that he said that he liked the look of too. That's weird. Anyway, what a weird thing to do in a review. Just watch it at some point. I don't fucking know.
Episode 6 begins with another flashback showing Cooper Howard advertising for the vaults. He's then approached by an executive named Bud, and they start talking about T-45 power armor, and apparently now there's a new fatal flaw with the armor that has never come up before. Definitely not a retcon, the show never breaks the canon, as the bots say. And of course this is foreshadowing for one of the dumbest scenes in the show in the finale. We'll get to that later. I also want to point out that the T-51 is never mentioned in the show. In fact, did you know that China is never mentioned by name in the show? They only ever referred to them as the Reds. Gee, do you think that's a coincidence? Actually, to the morons who like this show, yeah, they probably do think it is. Anyway, this Corpo guy is incredibly obnoxious. The only reason he exists is a setup for a later twist, which is also stupid. The next scene is a corporate party at Cooper's house, and we get to meet the voice of Cogsworth and all the Mr. Handies. Then they talk about communists for a while, and we get quite possibly the dumbest theme of the show that keeps getting pushed from this point forward, that you can make a massive profit off of the end of the world. Now, if you don't take this literally, there is an argument to be made that you can make a lot of money off of selling the apocalypse, especially if you're a gun store. But that's not what they're going for. They are very literal with this, as you'll see later. Then in the next scene, we see a couple sheriffs have captured Cooper, and they say they work for the government. Now, I thought this might be a setup for the Enclave to come back, but no, this is a complete nothing burger, as you'll see later in this episode. And now we're back to Lucy and Maximus again in Vault 4. I'm going to very briefly sum up everything that happens in this vault, because it's complete filler. You could cut this entire part of the show out and lose nothing of value. But first, I have to show you quite possibly the worst dialogue I've ever seen in a TV show.
You want to have sex?
You mean use my cock?
Yeah.
I don't know. That weird thing could happen.
What weird thing?
Well, it's just for some guys, not me. But for some guys, you know, when they make it move, it gets all big and hard like a big pimple, and then it pops. And they say it can happen to anybody, but it's gross.
The Brotherhood of Steel doesn't teach kids about sex. This is what I'm saying. They're obviously supposed to be evangelical Christians who are probably also racist. This is so fucking transparent. But that's the...
Why is what? How are they racist? What's the racism part? The religion part? The religion part, yeah, they're religious, but then they're religious in the... They're a quasi-religious cult in the games. How are they racist? I don't understand the racist part. There's like no racism present in the Fallout Brotherhood show thing. I don't fucking know. I thought that dialogue was kind of funny. I get people might have thought it was corny or something. I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny. But wasn't it kind of presenting this idea that this young lad has never done anything like that before? Like he's a virgin or whatever. Anyway.
Is so stupid that they let this go through. Okay, anyway, as for the Vault 4 plot, long story short, we get to see the infamous chalkboard that explains what happened to the NCR. Shady Sands mysteriously fell, quote unquote, in 2277, and this has been confirmed by Todd Howard himself, that this is not the nuke being showed.
Oh my god, that's so true. People can only laugh at real people suffering these days. Very sad. Yeah, there's like some sort of comedic attempt with dialogue, and people are, I don't think so. Some fucking,
Okay,
I
that's
don't
wonderful. But how do I make money off depressed people?
know. You know what I'm
This guy
trying
will
to say.
run with something that wasn't talked a lot about in the game, like the flaw in the armor, that presumably only soldiers would know and not want to spread and call it a retcon.
Thank you for the $10. Possibly, yeah. I guess, are you not worried though that maybe you're creating lore to fill in gaps which are just there because they're retarded though? Maybe, I don't know. That could be a thing. J-boy sex obsession isn't funny.
In the chalkboard. No, of course, the nuke dropped at an unknown date. That's not written on the chalkboard. And this is totally intentional because, you know, every other point on the chalkboard has a year next to it, but not the nuke, right? No one knows when the nuke dropped.
Wait. The flaw in the armor is lore though. It was explained in the Anchorage DLC. Was it?
Because the show has to be canon, which means that it couldn't have dropped in 2277 because obviously every goddamn NCR soldier in New Vegas in 2281 would have fucking mentioned their capital getting nuked. So no, mysteriously, sometime in the 2280s, Shady Sands got nuked, but before that, they quote-unquote fell. Even though, again, not a single NPC in New Vegas describes Shady Sands having fallen, especially not, you know, Caesar, the guy who monologues about how the NCR is slowly becoming more corrupt and collapsing. No, he wouldn't talk about Shady Sands falling. No. It's almost like all the people defending this didn't play the game. Whatever, anyway, I gotta move on. So, of course, the residents of this vault, at least some of them, are mutants. The Overseer has one eye. There's a guy with a nose on his forehead. Of course, nobody ever brings it up because they have to build the tension like they're gonna get captured and experimented on. Well, actually, no, they completely subvert your expectations. As it turns out, the original residents of the vault were mega evil Nazi scientists who did the weirdest experiments ever, including making a woman give birth to baby gulpers, who then devour her alive. But eventually, the lab rats rose up and killed all the evil scientists, and now they just accept surface dwellers into their vault. And these surface dwellers have now become cultists for Moldaver. They worship her as some kind of god or some shit, and this is never followed up on, by the way. And as it turns out, Moldaver is actually from the past, and they don't explain that either. And I know what you're gonna say, and we'll get to that. But there's no reason why she would have been one of the people who was preserved. So this stupid
Wait a second. I thought the whole point of this was that Moldova had a role in developing or helping this vault out at some point. Was that not what it was?
waste of time subplot that adds nothing to the story.
Yeah, I mean,
ends with
I'm attributing some of that to like, okay, they're probably going to go to more detail in the second season, right? I guess, but
Maximus stealing their fusion core, possibly killing all of them, getting in his power armor, beating the shit out of people for no reason except for humor, and then when they leave, Lucy convinces him to give them back the fusion core so they don't all die. And this is over the course of 2 episodes. They fucking wasted the audience's time so hard with this one. Anyway, back to episode 6. Next scene, we get yet another flashback where we learn that Cooper's wife is just straight up evil. Not only do they not allow dogs in the vault for seemingly no reason, but she also emotionally manipulates him into believing that she's the victim for him going off to war and possibly dying, experiencing untold horrors. He probably has PTSD, but no, she's the victim because she had to wonder if he would come back home alive. Are you fucking kidding me? This is Hillary Clinton all over again. Back to the present, we get another kind of pointless scene. Admittedly, it was cool at least, where Cooper is taken in front of the president, who's basically just a warlord who decided.
okay, I remember that scene, and I just don't recall having the same view on it. I thought it was like, you know, it was, what was it? It was like he was starting to see another side to her. You know, he was starting to recognize there was a bit like the kind of like a very corporatized perspective. Like this woman that he loved was actually very corporate minded and was like, you know, wedded to the company to like an insane degree. And he was like starting to think, okay, maybe she's not who I think she is or something, right? And that was the start of his process where he decides that he's going to eavesdrop on her, right? Is that what it was? Because, yeah, the episode before was when they had the meeting. And then at that point, he was like, hang on a minute, I'm starting to see what that person was talking about. She is a bit fucking corporate and that. What's going on, you know? but he's interpreted it in this really weird way, which I just don't know how he got there. You know, it's kind of like out of left field. When I'm just sat there thinking like, no, it's more so just about the fact that he's like, oh shit, maybe that woman is right about my wife. She is a bit fucking weird or whatever.
Decided to call himself the president because he wants to restore law to the waste again. And Cooper sews his finger back on. I guess ghouls can just heal without radiation now. Cooper ends up taking responsibility for shutting down the organ harvesting operation and also admits to killing multiple people in Philly. I'm assuming this is so they don't find out about the chip in the Enclave scientist's head. So then we get a kind of cool scene straight out of a Western where he kills both of the sheriffs. Then over the course of 2 different flashbacks, we get to see that Moldaver not only is from the past and survived all the way to the present with no explanation. No, she wasn't frozen. Not only that, but she was the leader of a company that was discovering how to create cold fusion, an unlimited energy source, which of course Vault-Tec bought her out because obviously capitalists don't want to end the resource war. And yeah, that's episode 6. I told it largely.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know if it feels like it's got a big problem with Fallout's like anti-capitalist shit when, you know, that was in the show, the game originated. Anyway.
Out of order, but that's because 6 and 7 might as well have been a big 2-parter. So I'm not going to rate this one. Let's just go to episode 7. At the start of episode 7, we see 2 prospectors wearing NCR veteran ranger armor. And no, they don't explain it. This is purely just a visual reference to try and appease New Vegas fans. Not to mention, that's like the cheapest looking costume probably in this whole show. I've seen cosplays better than that. At least the scene becomes cool afterward as the ghoul is waiting for them. Cooper explains he killed the guy's older son, but the bullet hole in the letter landed perfectly on the spot pointing to where Moldaver is located. So he threatens to kill the other son if he isn't given location, and well, he does end up killing him. So even though he didn't end up getting the location, I still thought it was a pretty entertaining scene. In a later scene, we finally get a follow-up on the head situation. The squire's foot is horribly mangled, so he's probably going to die. And this piece of shit decides to lock up dog meat in a Nuka-Cola cooler. What the fuck? I thought they were trying to make this character sympathetic. Then in a much later scene, he comes across the snake oil salesman that was saved in episode 2, which I'm not even sure if I even mentioned that in this review, but who gives a shit? The point is, the guy has a magical serum that gives the guy magical
I like this guy. I like this guy. I thought he was a fun character.
Generation powers. And in a later scene, they imply he's turning into a ghoul. Why didn't they just make it the forced evolutionary virus? Again, I brought this up earlier, but there's no super mutants in this show. But if that was a vial of FEV, that would have made perfect sense why his foot regenerated. Him turning into a ghoul doesn't make any. I don't know, whatever. This whole part was stupid.
Hey! What if he does become a super mutant? They showed a super mutant on a stretcher, did they? I didn't see that. Yo, could you imagine if that's what it was actually going with? And you think he's a mutant, but he's a super mutant. He's a ghoul, but he's a super mutant. Oh. Based.
Moving on. Eventually, Cooper just so happens to come across the Red Rocket so he could save Dogmeat. Over hundreds of miles of
Red
wasteland he could have explored. He somehow knew exactly where to go to find Dogmeat and save him. And then we get possibly the most Borderlands scene of the entire show, where Lucy and Maximus finally catch up to the Squire. He shoots at them and misses every fucking shot, which they just turn into a joke. Then he steps over a tripwire trap that shoots a crossbow bolt into...
This bit's important, but I thought that was like a play on the VATS thing. I thought that was a play on the idea that sometimes in VATS combat, the VATS thing, you can just shoot a bunch of shots and still miss.
To his neck, and he lives. And this is the part where they imply, oh, he's turning into a ghoul, because now you can only kill ghouls by shooting them in the head. Not a retcon, though. And then the dude just hands over the head. Doesn't matter if Maximus tried to kill him multiple times. No, they're buddies now. And Maximus now decides he's going to betray the Brotherhood for seemingly no reason. And so he gives Lucy the real head, and he takes...
Get ready for this. This got commented on. The Jew watching the interracial kiss.
A smashed up head back to them with no plan. And then we get the most unintentionally funny moment in the show. Our two heroes kiss. I can't even fucking say it. I can't even get it out, guys. I'm losing my fucking mind. This is gonna be my new reaction image every time I see propaganda. Okay.
Bro. Dude. I fucking knew it. I knew he was going to go there. I knew he's going to go there. Let's go. Oh.
And yeah, before I get banned, let's just wrap this up. Episode 7 actually ends with a scene in Vault 33, but like I said, we'll cover that whole subplot at the beginning of the next episode.
No, listen, hey. I thought that was funny, yeah. I thought that bit was funny. The idea that you've got this Jewish guy reacting to the propaganda like that is pretty funny. But, I mean, obviously this guy is serious. You know, he means all of that, right? He's not fucking around like I do, okay, when I'm memeing. You know that he's serious.
All right, I will rate episode 6 and 7 as a pair since they're pretty much linked in all their plots. I'd give them a 5, even though they definitely still shit on the lore. These were probably the 2 most watchable episodes where you could just kind of turn your brain off and be vaguely entertained by what's going on. Again, still not good. I feel like people's standards for television are incredibly low that they would actually like this show, because these are probably...
By the way, did this guy go on EFAP ever? Because there are big disagreements with him. I'd love to see this guy like interacting with like Mauler and that. I think that'd be based, because they really didn't like his review of God of War, did they?
The 2 best episodes, and they're just mediocre at best. Okay, with episode 8, I will finally wrap back around to the Vault 33 subplot and briefly sum up everything that happens. Like I said, for a while, this was the most interesting part of the show. We get to see Big Schnoz slowly unravel the mystery of what the experiment was at this tri-vault.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I really agree. This was a very interesting part of the show, I agree.
Vault system. We see that the residents of Vault 32 all killed each other years before the Raiders got to that vault. And of course, they sow the mystery of, okay, what did they figure out about Vault 31 that caused them to all kill each other? And so Big Schnoz does some digging. Despite being the manlet nerd Chud guy, he actually has more courage than anyone else, which I actually really like that. He's probably the most likable character in the show. What I don't like...
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's great that he's noticed that, and I agree. But in the first episode, he was like, yo, yo. But then I don't think he was a Chud guy. But anyway, in the first episode, he was popping off about the guy. He was like freaking out about him. And now he's like, you know, that he was wrong. He was wrong about it, you know?
Okay, that's wonderful.
But, yeah.
But how do I make money off depressed people?
I'd watch the video Mauler has on him on his channel. Says he wants to call Rags the gay slur and that he'd go on there and get their stream banned.
Oh, okay. Dude, what? Why? The EFAP guys are like pretty reasonable, no? Like you can have a convo with them. What a fucking weirdo, dude. Like the EFAP guys are totally, you know, I remember because I said some things that were wrong about them. And Mauler just reached out to me and we talked about it and it was totally chill. And I ended up like, you know, clarifying some points and recognizing the things I got wrong. And not that I even had to do that. You know, I didn't even have to, it wasn't even an expectation that I did that. We just spoke a bit and I realized they were actually a lot more chill than I thought they were. And yeah, they were like totally reasonable about the whole thing, you know? And, I mean, Rags was in chat the other day. Me and Mauler speak sometimes, you know, got quite a good rapport with them. But it's just crazy to me that like the EFAP guys are going to have a very kind of like amenable attitude towards some of the concerns that he's got with stuff. But obviously thought he went way too far with this fucking God of War review. And his response was to act like that. What? EFAP guys implied he's Nazi adjacent. Dude, he was just talking about how he was doing the Jewish meme of the interracial kissing, constantly bringing up race. Is it really that? Wait, you guys have lost the plot. If you aren't listening to this guy and being like, yeah, he seems pretty far right. No? I mean, am I crazy here, dude? Okay, but you can't get mad if you're like, and it's like, okay, well, then I'm describing what you perceive as reality then. I'm not just being that crazy and describing him like that, no? There's nothing wrong with describing someone as seeming like, you know, Nazi adjacent or far right if like that's what their politics actually are. The problem is when you describe, you know, middle of the road conservatives as Nazis and shit, you know? Fucking hell, you guys have lost it. I'm too anti-leftoid. I'm too anti-leftoid. I need to fucking, remind you guys to not be retarded.
Like is his cousin being a cuckold and raising another man's child. And the blonde chick is from Vault 31, so she's one of the traitor people. And speaking of which, Big Schnoz finds out that all of the people who were elected overseer in Vault 32 and 33 were from Vault 31. And I find this very interesting given the type of people who like this show think that the 2020 election was the most secure in history, of course. But honestly, what I find even more interesting was the chosen number of 33. Those of you who are into conspiracy theories will know that number is associated with Freemasons. And that was definitely intentional, as you'll see with the twist in Vault 31. So anyway, somehow, all of Vault 32 is seemingly cleaned up overnight, and residents of Vault 33 are to be moved back into 32 so that they can restore life to it, and the experiment in the vaults can continue. Eventually, Big Schnoz hacks into the Overseer's computer and tries to communicate with 31 and is let inside. And the big twist that we discover is that the Corpo guy, Bud Askin from the past, is now a brain on top of a Roomba. Are you fucking kidding me? This is Borderlands. This is not Fallout. This is Borderlands. Whatever. Anyway, so the big twist.
It would have been cooler to have like the proper robo fucking thing or something, right? Yeah, but I don't think it was that big a deal.
Is that these vaults have not been operating for 200 years. They've been bringing people from the past out of cryostasis. Yes, this is another vault as cryogenic freezing. No, that wasn't just an experiment in Vault 111. No, apparently it's also in Vault 31. So Lucy's dad turns out to also be from the past. That's all the Vault 33 subplot was leading toward. What a fucking disappointment. Anyway, back to episode 8. We see...
Okay. I thought that was kind of cool. I like that. No? I really like that subplot and that character. I thought that was really cool. He was like almost like a second protagonist, wasn't he? In that respect.
See Maximus getting interrogated by the Brotherhood of Steel. No, they don't bring up that he impersonated Knight Titus. That plot point, completely forgotten by the writers. But they do discover it's the wrong head, obviously. And he's about to be executed, but then the She-Man saves him by admitting that she placed the trap in her own boot. God, I hate this show. Anyway, so now we get to the big climax, where the Brotherhood of Steel flies over to Moldaver and her band of raiders / ex-NCR members. And
you still have lefties in here, Chud. No, I know I do. I know I do.
The battle looks really fucking stupid. I know some of you are gonna think, oh, this is cool. Dude, there's a Brotherhood of Steel guy in power armor with no gun who just, like, slaps dudes and slams them into a table. It's fucking dumb, dude. And it only gets dumber because, of course, Cooper follows them all the way here, and he makes a comment about a fatal flaw with T-45 power armor, and he wonders if T-60 fixed the flaw. Of course it didn't. So he just shoots them all in the weak spot and kills them instantly. This show's so dumb, it's unreal.
Okay. I thought that was kind of fun, personally. I don't know, man. It's just so crazy to me that people get so upset to that level about it, right? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I understand to a point, but some stuff just looks cool. Like, do you really need to be that autistic about the law? Can you not just take a look back and go, that looked kind of cool? I agree the fight was a bit stupid, but...
Real. This is basically a Marvel movie. No, actually, that's an insult to Marvel movies. This is a DC movie climax. But believe it or not, it actually gets worse, because Lucy is also here, and she learns that her dad is the one who nuked Shady Sands. Okay. And they explain this with one final flashback where we get to see a meeting between all the executives of the mega corporations. They have their own Illuminati, essentially, right here. And of course, Cooper's wife represents Vault-Tec, and she suggests to everyone that they should nuke America first because they can make a profit off of the apocalypse. Guys, that might just be the dumbest plot point I have ever heard in any television show. Communists literally do not understand basic economics, supply and demand. You're telling me you want to kill off 99.999% of your customer base, and you somehow think you're going to make a profit. They've established Vault-Tec is a $1 trillion company in the show.
It's not about profit, it's about getting rid of competition. Wait a
But they don't
second.
not a profit off of the apocalypse. Guys, that might just be the dumbest plot point I have ever heard.
They weren't trying to they weren't trying to profit off of the apocalypse. I thought, okay, I think he's describing it a bit wrong. I thought the whole point of this was that, oh my god, they're so insane and retarded that they would destroy the world in the hope that they'd be able to, you know, create a new one in the corporate image. Like, it's supposed to be portrayed as an insane thing that they're proposing and suggesting, right? Like, I don't think it's supposed to be a logically correct thing that they're suggesting. It's supposed to be like totally insane. It's supposed to be like, what? Oh my god, they really would destroy the world. And yeah, that was my perspective on it.
In any television show. Communists literally do not understand basic economics, supply and demand. You're telling me you want to kill off 99.999% of your customer base, and you somehow think you're going to make a profit. They've established Vault-Tec is a $1 trillion company in the show. They don't explain what they sell. We might as well just say they're Amazon. That's honestly a better headcanon than anything.
I don't know. I don't hate gays, but I'm tired of seeing gay sex on every show and movie I watch. Well, first of all, what... I watch a fair few shows and movies, and I am not constantly inundated with gay sex. What the fuck are you watching, dude? First of all. I think you might be accidentally watching gay porn, first of all, okay? And secondly, I understand not liking if there's like black people randomly in a fucking Viking show or something like that. But black people just exist, and them just randomly being in a show in a certain perspective or role is not anything to worry about, in my opinion.
Anything else you could explain. They also retcon Mr. House and make him to be an idiot. He says that he's not even sure the bombs will drop. When in New Vegas, it's established he knew it would happen. That's why he set up defenses to shoot down nukes. That's why New Vegas is in such great condition compared to every other major city in the United States. So again, didn't do any basic fucking research, but oh, it does break canon though. It doesn't break canon though. And man, they make
Yeah, there's obviously discrepancies between House in New Vegas and the House here, sure.
this black woman so cartoonishly evil. On top of wanting to genocide the human race, she straight up says to the other executives of these companies that you can have some vaults and run whatever.
I just don't care. Dude, so much of this has got the same energy as those guys complaining about the Lord of the Rings movies, where I'm like, okay, yes, there's changes to the law, there's issues here, there's issues there, but I just think you're being a bit too autistic about it, okay?
Experiments you want in them. And that's how they explain all the crazy shit that goes down in the vaults. Holy fuck. You can't defend this scene. It's too stupid. It doesn't work on any level. It doesn't pass basic logic. Anyway, back to the present, we learn what Moldaver's grand plan was. The Enclave scientists stole the
I like the twist. I thought the twist was good. Yeah, whatever.
formula, code,
I'm
whatever.
kind of running out of
the
steam,
thing that
to be honest.
activates cold fusion, giving the wasteland unlimited energy. So yes, she was a good guy all along. It also turns out she's a lesbian and was in love with Lucy's mom. And
I'm not saying every damn show morons, but you can't deny it's all over the damn place constantly. If you don't agree, you're just full of shite. Like, yeah, there's like some stuff that's a bit forced, I agree. But like, this idea that it's like constant barraging you, I just don't see it personally.
And also she keeps her around as a ghoul, giving the wasteland unlimited energy. So yes, she was a good guy all along. It also turns out she's a lesbian and was in love with Lucy's mom. And
Okay. I don't, what? Was she a wait, what? I don't think she was a lesbian, was she? And also, I don't think that she's a good guy all along. I think that the whole point of the character is, yes, she did this good thing here, but obviously she did take actions which killed innocent people in the vault originally. So again, another like morally grey character who is like been fucked over by a bad thing happening, right? It's like, yeah, exactly. Everyone's got their motivations. Is the outcome, you know, do the ends justify the means? Yes, she got the cold fusion thing going, but she went to the vault and killed a bunch of innocent people, like, needlessly, right? Morally grey.
And also, she keeps her around as a ghoul, dude. This bitch is a psycho. So like I said before, Lucy's dad nuked Shady Sands because that would have been competition for Vault-Tec. Guys, I seriously can't take the show anymore. It was so painful to watch it up until this point. So whatever, let's wrap this up really quick. So Lucy's dad ends up escaping, gets the power armor. Moldaver is bleeding out. So our heroes decide to follow him out into the unknown. The Brotherhood of Steel obviously captures Cold Fusion, so now they have unlimited power on the West Coast. Nice plan, Moldaver. You really thought that one through, you fucking idiot bitch. And the show ends with Lucy's dad coming across Vegas, and it's dead. They killed Vegas too. I've seen some copium from people who weren't fucking paying attention, probably because they're bots, but you can clearly see the wall has been breached. The power is off. I guess after it's Vegas too. I've seen some copium from people who...
What do you reckon, Fallout New Vegas fans? We've just been playing this, actually, haven't we? Looks like it's fallen into disrepair.
who weren't fucking paying attention, probably because they're bots, but you can clearly see the wall has been breached. The power is off. I guess after the events of New Vegas, the tunnelers overran everything, killed everybody, or maybe the Legion blew up Hoover Dam. Actually, I doubt the Legion will even get mentioned in Season 2 because they're too problematic. But yeah, they destroyed New Vegas, as if they didn't shit down the fans' throats hard enough. So yeah, is there any point to having a real conclusion? I'm sure this video already dragged on way too long. You know exactly what I think of it. If this was non-canon, it would just be mediocre slop that doesn't even make sense on its own. There's multiple major plot holes, extreme conveniences, and just plain old bad dialogue, bad writing, pro-communist propaganda that doesn't even make sense on a basic level. Some of the most diverse casting I have ever seen, and I believe there's 4 interracial couples in this show as well. Not to mention Lucy's or...
Yeah. What else do people say? Look, dude, it's cool if you're racist. I literally don't care if you're racist, but you gotta fucking own that shit. Come on, man. You can't be going on about fucking interracial couples when they're not even like intrusive or woke without fucking owning the fact that you're not a fan of interracial couple.
Arguably able to make sense on a basic level. Some of the most diverse casting I have ever seen, and I believe there's 4 interracial couples in this show as well. Not to mention Lucy is arguably a Mary Sue, and there's plenty of women in positions of power. They made a black woman not only like the lead executive of Vault Tech, but also a genocidal maniac. So were leftists the real racists all along? That's certainly worse than anything I would ever write. But really, the worst thing of all is that it just craps all over the original games. And if that doesn't bother you, then you're not a fan of Fallout, period. The fact that there are a bunch of huge YouTubers shilling this show, including one guy famous for mentioning the message, yet he never brings it up when talking about this show. I don't have to name him, you know exactly who it is.
Who's that in reference to? Oh, is that in reference to the Critical Drinker? Yeah. Dude, can the Critical Drinker just not... Dude. He obviously just liked the show and didn't think it was woke. Oh my god. It's so funny. Isn't it funny how the left get rightly criticized for like ideological purity type shit, but you get exactly the same thing from these guys as well. If there's any disagreement, that's not allowed. Oh no, he's a bad guy for not mentioning it.
Whatever, right? But really, the worst thing of all is that it just craps all over the original games. And if that doesn't bother you, then you're not a fan of Fallout, period. The fact that there are a bunch of huge YouTubers shilling this show, including one guy famous for mentioning the message, yet he never brings it up when talking about this show. I don't have to name him, you know exactly who it is.
Yeah, maybe he just liked the show and didn't see it the way that you did. Like, why are you expecting fucking ideological purity from everyone on your side, dude? What the fuck?
Completely sold out, dude.
Syntheticman is a socialist. Yeah, national socialist, sure.
A lot of the people you thought were based, red-pilled, right-wing, whatever, no, they're just grifters. Before I end this video, I want to throw another shout-out towards the Archcast and...
Did he just call them grifters?
YouTubers shilling this show, including one guy famous for mentioning the message, yet he never brings it up when talking about this show. I don't have to name him, you know exactly who it is. Completely sold out, dude. A lot of the people you thought were based, red-pilled, right-wing, whatever, no, they're just grifters. Before I...
Dude, do you know what it is as well? The people on that side of the aisle are not, you know, often they're not like willing to cause a rift and stuff and argue and shit. Like, I want to see a bit, like, I want to see Critical Drinker fucking have a little bite back at this. I want to see some fucking drama. Let's go.
In this video, I want to throw another shout out toward the Archcast and Kretosis for being very critical of this show. Another shout out to V for mentioning me in his video. And anybody else who proved that they have critical thinking skills and they're not being paid to shill a fucking Amazon show. Even if we don't see eye to eye politically on a lot of things, because I'm self-aware enough to know my views are pretty extreme, but the important thing is we all stand together in gatekeeping Fallout from the fucking normies who want to destroy everything because they don't give a flying fuck. They are completely mindless consumers. They do not care about the franchise, about the characters, about the lore, about the story, or even the basic themes. You will never be a fan of Fallout if you like this show. That's about it. See you next time, guys.
Dude. That's crazy. Also, like, he says himself he recognizes his views are extreme. Like, dude, it's fine. Listen, this guy's far right. I don't really care. He can be whatever he wants. Don't fucking defend him on the basis when he said, yeah, my views are pretty extreme. Oh. I just learned today that I'm not a real Fallout fan. I mean, dude, it's just so broad, isn't it? You know? It's so extreme. Like, there's plenty of people that like the Fallout games and like this show. It's not mutually exclusive. Does this guy actually like anything he talks about, though? Dragon's Dawn was a waste of potential. Oh, he's done the best and worst games. Games Awards. Amazon's Fallout is going to suck. Base Game of the Year just dropped. Alex Jones game. Isn't that some shovelware dog shit? I know it's funny, Alex Jones, haha, but isn't it a shit game? Probably, I guess. I've not played it, admittedly.